at the Hiranandani Hospital with us. Appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to you, Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan, as an infectious disease specialist. I think at the outset we need to in some way demystify black fungus. Can you demystify it for us? What exactly is it? What are the symptoms that we should be looking out for, and why has it raised its head in COVID times?
So, fungal infections like this are not something that we have unheard of or unaware of. We know of infections like this due to mold infections in vulnerable hosts, which includes diabetics who are poorly controlled with very high sugars and kidney failure. And also another set would be those who are undergoing severe cancer treatment, especially hematological cancers and solid organ transplants and things like that. Outside of these three groups of patients, it's fairly rare. It's something that can affect any part of the body. The typical presentation which we are talking about in this is involvement of the sinuses and spreading to the eyes, possibly to the palate and the dental areas, and upwards into the brain and the supportive structures over there. Obviously, it's something that does not respect any anatomical boundaries. It can progress very fast, and it is catastrophic and fatal if not picked up early. And many times it can be misdiagnosed as simple sinusitis or something very innocuous in the early stages at least.
But Dr. Subramanian, I just want to understand why now. The question that many are worried, is it directly linked to the fact that because of the explosion in COVID 2.0 cases, that those who are diabetic have not controlled their sugar levels, or possibly because of unhygienic conditions that they may be living in or they may be operated upon, are prone to it?
See, I will argue it this way. Everybody keeps saying the sugar levels are very poor and the steroid use is really rampant. I would argue that COVID 1.0 involved older people who are more likely to be diabetic and had high sugars and more liable to have weak immune systems and were also receiving high steroids. But we didn't see so much mucormycosis after round 1. So the question is, what changed? See, the important thing is, while vulnerability is one thing, without the pathogen, you can't get a disease. See, for example, you could have all the risk factors. But if you're living in a country like, say, Iceland, you're not going to get TB. It doesn't matter how much risk factors you have, because you don't have the pathogen in that country. So the question is, what changed? So obviously, the fungus has entered the equation in this round, and we need to ask ourselves epidemiologically what we did wrong. Obviously, risk factors are important. Not controlling blood sugars and excessive use of steroids and other powerful drugs like tocilizumab have a part to play. But obviously, without the fungus itself, there is no way this could have happened. And I think the question of how did the fungus get into the system is most important and not being asked.
What is your guess?
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm not guessing. Fungus is airborne. We know that for a long time. That's why we have guidelines on this. So any structural work happening in a hospital, there are guidelines called the ICRA guidelines, Infection Control Risk Assessment. We know because it spreads by the air. Think of it this way. COVID patients who have very severe injury, they have injury to the lungs. So if you have fungal infection, why isn't it going to the lungs? Because that's the one which is most destroyed. Why does it go to the sinuses? The reason is because it's airborne. Those who are in hospitals where liquid air is available and it's piped through good pipelines, they are getting good quality air, and therefore the spore is not contaminating it. Unfortunately, we are now having to repurpose a lot of old cylinders, and we are refilling it wherever we can. And when all of that happens, these have a very high fungal burden. Industrial units, I don't know how well they can check for fungal contamination and things like that. And when you start blasting it into people's nostrils, you are depositing it right into the sinuses. And it's a tinderbox waiting to go off. And I suspect, my strong suspicion is that the quality of air is what is tipping the balance this time around.